Welcome everyone here to the Smash Sports Show right here on Smash FM here on a Friday morning here in Melbourne. Of course, let's go across to our friends over in America in particular. Of course, we're heading to Calgary, Canada, and of course speak with one of the Australians bobsleigh teams over there. Of course, her name's Bree Walker. She joins us right now. Thanks, Bree, for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Well, tell us, you're currently over there in Calgary. How's the training
Yes.
been like?
Training's been going really well. I'm about a full training block into my off season. So we're starting the second training block. And everything's going really well. My body's really fit and healthy. Feeling really good and ready to get stuck into work here in Calgary.
You must tell us how long you've got to be in Canada, and are you preparing for any competitions coming up?
Yeah, no, there's no competitions. Our competition season runs from around November all the way until March. So there isn't going to be any competitions while I'm over here, but I am going to be here until September. And pretty much it's me just doing my dry land training, so my weightlifting and running on a athletics track just to build up my speed and power for the push start. But then also I'm going to be doing some push training here at the ice house in Calgary, and that's kind of the main purpose why I'm out here, because they have a really good push track facility, so I can get a lot of push training done here this summer.
You mentioned obviously most because obviously over there is much better when go to the winter sports and snow sports like bobsleigh. Um, I guess how important is that for you to be training over there instead of training down here?
It's really important. Last year I did move back to Australia for majority of the off season, and it was completely fine. Like I really got some good training in. I felt really fit and strong when I went into season. The thing was is that I felt like it took me a few races to get into my pushing and really feel like I knew what I was doing behind the sled again. And I never really experienced that before, because majority of my my bobsleigh career has been over in Germany, where I would be pushing throughout the summer. And so I really recognize that I do have to be behind a track in the off season, behind a sled in the off season. So yeah, that's why I've decided to make I guess the move over here to Calgary and spend a longer time in my off season here, so I can push on the ice house.
Being a team sport, bobsleigh, are
Mhm.
have you got your teammates over there?
No, so my teammate Kiara, she will be coming out in August. But because I have the monobob event, I can do a lot of pushing by myself, and it's completely fine. I also do practice pushing from the pilot position, and I do that by myself. But obviously it is better when Kiara comes out here and we can push together. So yeah, I'll do a lot of my base work up until then, and then when Kiara comes out, we'll do some team pushes together, which is always really fun.
Yeah, you mentioned about your teammate Kiara. How did that come about with both you being teammates?
I actually asked her to come onto my team all the way back after the 2018 season. And she was really determined to try and make an Australian team with athletics. But then leading in towards the Beijing Olympics, another Australian bobsleigh pilot contacted her and asked her if she wanted to come on board her team, and she did. So she began her bobsleigh career with another bobsleigh pilot. But then as that season progressed, she was performing very well, and our federation wanted to see if she could have a run on my sled, and so we did a race together, and we did really well. I came seventh, which was my career best in our first race together, and we were like, oh, this is pretty good. And then from then she just continued to end up in my sled, and then ended up in my sled at the Olympics. And then after the Olympics, she actually decided that she was going to go back and give track and field another go. She did that for one full year. And then my new coach actually came out to Australia, and we met up with her. and he somehow convinced her to come back and give it a go. And yeah, we went off last year and I had my best year yet in the two-man with her, and it was so much fun, and I'm really glad to have her back on board.
Have you fully convinced her to stay in the winter side of the sport instead of the summer side of the sport?
I think so now. I think we had a lot of fun last year, achieved a lot of really cool things. So I think yeah, she's hung up the track spikes for now, and is fully committed to the bobsleigh spikes. So yeah, I'm pretty sure she's on board until at least until the next Olympics. That's for sure.
Now, Bree, talking about the Olympics, that's of course in 2026. How's the preparation towards that? Is that still on track?
Yeah, definitely. It's still on track each year. My team and I, we keep building on the previous season, and everything seems to be going as we have planned. So yeah, we're definitely on track.
And where's the next Winter Olympics? If people out there have no idea where that is, obviously we're coming up to the summer one, coming up in Paris. But where's the winter one in 2 years' time?
The next Winter Olympics is in Milano Cortina, but actually bobsleigh doesn't know if we're going to be competing in Italy because there's no bobsleigh track built yet there. So we are waiting to see if they build a track in time, and if they don't build a track in time, we might actually be competing outside of Italy. There's a few different locations that they have in mind as backups. But yeah, we're sitting here waiting patiently to hear if we're going to be where we're going to be competing.
Okay. Obviously, with the uncertainty, but you just mentioned, which I wasn't going to ask, but I'm going to ask it now. How strange will it be? The actual. Hopefully they do it, but if they don't, how strange will it be to sort of go to have your competition outside of where the actual host city will be?
For me, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's still the Olympics. There's still Olympic medals up for grabs. And so for me and my team, we will just adapt to wherever that will be, and we'll go for it, you know. So it's not a really big concern of ours. We're just sitting here waiting because obviously once we do know, we can then start planning according to that track. So yeah, it's just trying to be patient, which athletes aren't very good at. But you know, that's all we can really do.
Tell us a bit about your coaches.
So my head coach is a man called Pierre Luders. He is a ex-Canadian bobsleigh athlete, Olympic champion himself, multiple time, you know, Crystal Globe winner, World Cup winner, world champion. He has like, you know, more trophies on his wall that you can't even count. He's definitely taken my driving to the next level over the last few years. And I'm really enjoying working with him. My physical coach is a guy, Will Morgan. He worked with the OWIA, the Olympic Winter Institute, for many, many years as a head strength and conditioning coach. He's now the head strength and conditioning coach at the VIS. I've just started working with him full time as my physical trainer over the last few years, which has been really fun, to be honest. Like, I've had foreign coaches for the majority of my bobsleigh career, so to actually be working with Australians is really cool. Last year and continuing this summer, I had a man, Florian Linder, who's also a Canadian, be like my push coach. He worked with Pierre at all the other different countries that Pierre worked at. Pierre was actually the head coach for the last three home nations of the Winter Olympics, and Florian was the push coach alongside him. And so when Pierre started working with me, he introduced me to Flo, and we started working together. And as of yesterday, so this is kind of like breaking news, I'm going to be working with a guy called BJ Cole. He was an Australian 400-meter hurdler, like really a really amazing athlete back in the day, who ended up going and coaching, being the push coach for the American team for the 2018 Olympics. And I've known him for many years. We've bumped into each other along the way. And we really wanted to, Kiara and I really wanted to have a push coach out on season with us. And Flo wasn't able to come out on season with us as much as what we would have liked. So we're actually bringing BJ on board to be able to be with us on season and help improve our pushing. So yeah, really excited to have him on board. And it finally feels like we're really piecing the puzzle together for who's on our team, and which is really exciting. We've got some really enthusiastic, inspiring people on our team, and it just makes me really motivated for the seasons to come.
Tell us a bit about your bobsleighing journey. Where did it all start and why did you choose it?
So my bobsleigh journey started back in 2016. I was a 400-meter hurdler before that, and my biggest goal was to represent Australia on the world stage and at the Olympic Games. And I didn't just want to be a participant. I really wanted to be a true competitor and go and win medals. But track and field is like got such a high level, and I was at a point in my athletic career where I'd had a few injuries. I'd gone away to college and I'd come back and my performance wasn't up to where it was before I left. And so I could have kept trying, and I could have maybe made an Australian team, but to be a true competitor, I don't think I had quite the talent for that. Like on the world stage anyways. And so I had to ask myself the hard question as to whether I was going to be able to achieve my Olympic dream in track and field. And the hard answer was no. But bobsleigh was always something that I thought I would do after my athletic career. For those who know Jana Pittman, she was a 400-meter hurdler herself, and she actually went and did bobsleigh after she had retired from 400-meter hurdles. So I saw her doing it, and I thought if she could do it, so could I. So yeah, I just Googled whether we had a bobsleigh team, and at the time we didn't, but they were revamping the team for the 2018 Olympics. And so I just signed up to the Talent ID camp. I went along to that in Sydney, and they were like, yep, you have all the great attributes to be a good bobsledder. Would you like to learn to go overseas and learn how to drive a bobsleigh? And I was like, yeah, sure. When do I leave? They said a month. And so I like had to raise all this money within a month. And then I was on a plane over to Whistler in Canada to learn how to drive a bobsleigh, which I was so naive at the time, but Whistler is actually the fastest track in the world, and so I had no idea what I was throwing myself into. But yeah, I went there and I tried the sport, and I remember my first run and I was like, well, I don't hate this, so I'm gonna go again. And I just kept going again and again and again. And then you start down lower on the track and you work your way up. And I think it was really motivating for me to see me improving as the week went on, and slowly make my way to the top. And I do remember my first run from the top, and I remember getting to the bottom and just being completely ecstatic and just like, yeah, this is me, this is my sport, I love this. And so yeah, and the rest is history.
Now, what would be some highlights throughout your journey so far? Because you mentioned that
I
last year
did.
was your best year.
Yeah, certainly. Last season was my best season by far. Obviously, going to the Olympics is a huge highlight and a huge box ticked. But I would have to say last year was probably there was so many highlights throughout that season. But definitely my last race in the monobob where I won the Lake Placid World Cup, which was my first World Cup win. And I'd won when monobob was a World Series event, but I've never won a World Cup event. I'd won medals, like I'd won so many silvers and so many bronzes, but never actually won a World Cup. And so that was just so amazing to finish that monobob season on that note. And then that win allowed made jumped me up in the ranks, and I actually then finished second overall. So I'm now ranked second in the world in the monobob event. And like, that was just a huge goal. I told Pierre that that's what I wanted to do. At the end of the previous season, I said I want a crystal globe at the end of the year, and he's like, okay, do you know what it takes to win one of those? And I was like, yeah, pretty sure. He goes, all right, well then let's go for it. So yeah, we like constructed our whole season around winning a crystal globe at the end. And so to actually achieve that was just unbelievable, because it required me to be consistent across the whole season. Like I had to like hit multiple podiums, because you gain points every single time that you race. And so it really required me to be at the highest level throughout the whole season. And so just for me to achieve that from such consistent work was really rewarding.
You mentioned about that. You finished second overall. Two-part question. The first part is, who's currently first at the moment, and where were you prior to finishing second heading to that event?
So Lisa Bookfitz is now ranked first overall, and prior to heading into that Lake Placid World Cup, I was ranked fourth overall. So it was really tight on points between second, third, and fourth. So I thought I could jump up into third. And there was a part of me that like thought I could get into second, but it required a very specific outcome to occur, and which was me winning the race and the German girl who was sitting second overall to come fourth. And that was the exact scenario that happened. So yeah, it was really cool for that all to play out, and I'm pretty proud of that trophy, that's for sure.
How long after that did it sink in?
Pretty quick. It was really cool. Like Pierre and I were driving home, and he like just kept being like, man, that trophy is like so big. It's so much bigger than like any of his that he has, because he has a bunch of crystal globes, but they're all much smaller. And he was just like, that's so awesome. And I kept just being like, I know, I'm so excited. And it was just really cool. It was like such like so much excited energy throughout the whole team. And everybody was just so happy, and I'm so grateful for that, because everybody in that team played like our team played a huge part in me achieving that. Kiara like even said at one point like that was her highlight of the season, when like, because we just at the end at the finish line, if like anybody hasn't seen it, it's on my Instagram. Kiara, like I just leap into Kiara's arms, and we're just so freaking excited. And it was just really cool to experience that much excitement with the team. I like it's really hard being on such a small team, like sometimes, because you have really long days, there's extra work because we don't have so many hands. But when you do achieve something like that, it's so rewarding for not only you, but for the whole team, because there was so much effort that went into it. So yeah, it was a really cool moment and an awesome way to finish the season.
So what does the sport mean to you now?
Oh, it's huge. Like I live and breathe the sport these days. Like I've found quite a good balance between doing the sport and everything that goes along with it, and also like just enjoying life over the past year, which is I think has allowed me to really be more committed and put a lot more effort into my training and my sport when I am focused on it. So but like the sport is like it's a huge part of my life. I think it forever will be, even when I retire. And so I'm very grateful that I've done the sport the way that I have, because it definitely has made me the person I am today.
This one, as soon as the question sounds, what's your future ambitions in the sport?
I have so many ambitions in the sport. Like each at the beginning of every off season, I sit down and I write my goals for the coming season. So this year I've got a list of goals that I'm very determined to go and achieve. And then from that also I have like goals that I want to achieve into the future as well. So I'm very ambitious. I'm very goal orientated, and the goals that I've set for this year are gonna they're very achievable, and but they're gonna require for me to step it up and my team to step it up to another level. So I'm very excited to get going this off season and get after my goals.
So obviously now down here, we're in deep into winter, and of course everyone can feel it right now. It's like below 10 degrees at the moment here in Melbourne. But what would be your advice to people that should get involved in bobsleighing and hopefully fulfill a dream that you've achieved?
Oh, definitely. If you feel like it's something for you, I 100% encourage you to give it a go. There's so many cool experiences that you can have by doing not only bobsleigh but winter sport in Australia. It's such an underrated field in sport because we've obviously got football, and even like if you go into Olympic sports, swimming, like all on our doorstep in Australia. But doing a winter sport generally requires people to travel, either like travel far to the mountains in Australia or overseas if you want to compete for Australia. But it is so worth it. You get to go to some amazing places, you get to meet some unreal people, and you get to do it all while representing your country. So yeah, if anybody is interested, please feel free to reach out to myself or reach out to the Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation. There is recruiting camps that occur around August each year. So yeah, you can come along, try and undergo all the testing that we do. And then from there, there's pathways to get involved into the sport. So yeah, it's an unreal sport. It's full of adrenaline and excitement. And it's yeah, it's my favorite thing to do.
Now we'll finish with these last two, which is, do you have a pre-competition superstition or ritual or routine?
I have lots of routines, definitely. I think a big part of being a dialed in athlete is having a routine in place so it can prepare you in the exact same way for each race. I'm constantly listening to music, and the last 2 seasons it has been the Beyonce album. I just every race I listen to the Beyonce album all the way through. And that gets me ready for any race in any condition. I don't have any superstitions. I like wear the same things, but I think I would be okay not to wear the same things. Oh, nah, no, I wouldn't. I wear the same crop top for one for monobob and one for two man. That's for sure. Certainly won't break that. But yeah, and every other thing, like I think I could manage by myself. But yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm superstitious, but I'm very routine orientated, and it does annoy me when I get out of my routine. So if you call that superstitious, then yeah, it is what it is.
Okay. Who's the comedian out of you and Kiara?
Oh, me, for sure. She thinks I'm ridiculous. She like the antics that Pierre and I can get up to is unbelievable, and I think Kiara thinks like we're absolutely out of our minds some days. But I think as bobsleigh pilots, you have to be a little bit out of our minds to do this sport. So yeah, no, she definitely thinks I'm the clown.
And the second part of that question is, for everyone that should follow you on the socials, how can they go about it, Bree?
Yeah, most of my socials are at bobsled Bree, or you just type in Bree Walker, and I'm sure you guys will be able to find me. So please follow along. It's I try and keep everybody up to date as much as I can, especially while I'm on season. So yeah, it would be really cool to have you guys follow along the journey.
Well, Bree, thank you so much for giving up some of your time, especially to squeeze in this interview during your busy training schedule up in Canada. And we want to wish you all the best for the upcoming season, which starts in about 5 months' time. But obviously, you're training until September, and hopefully, we'll see you back in Melbourne sometime soon.
Yes, all right. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a good chat.
No worries. So that's Bree Walker OLY. Of course, that's Olympian there. Of course, Joy's right from Canada. Of course, if you want to follow her progress throughout the incoming season, which is starts in November, of course, you can follow her on her socials. Here on the Smash Sports Show right after this. Don't go away. Here on the 10th year celebration.